Welcome to Every Dollar Counts with Josh and Jay, a weekly shot of truth serum for your investment and insurance questions. I'm Josh Knoll, the owner of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jay Stubbs, the Regional Director for First Protective Insurance Group. And we are brought to you on the Prime Capital Investment Advisors podcast and network. Today, we are joined in studio by Mr. Will Steih. He is the Managing Director of Prime Capital Investment Advisors Tennessee office, which is based in Nashville, and he also serves as a CPA. You are joining our podcast. This is part of our Business Owner Strategies and Solutions campaign, which we are endearingly calling our B.O.S.S series, thanks to Jay's big creative brain. It is part of a 5-part series specifically designed for the retirement and planning needs of successful business owners. In this episode, we are going to dive into employee stock option purchase plans, otherwise known as ESOP. So if you're a business owner and you want to learn more about these concepts, you need to listen up. Before we dive into all this, though, let's have our friends from Sloth Racer Band kick us off. All right, Will, Jay, how y'all doing today?
Pretty good, Josh. I've enjoyed this B.O.S.S series, being in the studio with you and with Will. And I think that if you are a business owner listening to this and you're just now catching this particular episode, you're going to want to go backwards a few episodes and listen to buy-sell, listen to succession planning, listen to defined benefit planning, and non-qualified deferred compensation planning.
Couldn't agree more. Will, doing okay?
I absolutely. Again, appreciate the privilege to join you gentlemen, and I couldn't get more juiced up talking about ways in which we can help business owners keep more of their hard-earned dollars. And in particular, Jay was talking about tax-free and tax-preferred and some things along the way here. We've hit in a couple of these podcasts. It's like, man, that just gets my blood to going here, and excitement around helping a business owner hang on to more of their dollars, and you get to do wonderful things with it, whether it's to support your family or give to the causes in your local community that really that you're passionate about. That's good stuff. So I'll wholeheartedly agree with Jay's suggestion for people to go back to those podcasts. Here's some of those tax-free tips.
All right. Well, today, this episode, we get to talk about how we empower employees, give them ownership. So very cool. We get to work our way down the chain a little bit. So before I jump to Jay, I got quick housekeeping for compliance. Jay Stubbs and First Protective are not affiliated with Prime Capital Investment Advisors nor Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. And Will Steih is not affiliated with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, nor is he affiliated with First Protective. So Jay, let's start from the top. What type of business should consider an ESOP?
So an ESOP, or an employee stock ownership plan, the acronym is ESOP. A business owner thinking about this does not have family to succeed the business to, or they may have some family that they don't really feel like need to be in an ownership capacity, and they don't really want to relinquish control to a third party, maybe competitor, and they have built this thing from the ground up, or certainly made it to what it is today, and they want to reward the employees of the company that have helped that business owner over time make the businesses what it is today. So some of the most common ESOPs out there that you might have heard of, the one I like to think of is UPS, United Parcel Service. I mean, it's the holidays. I think there's a box showing up at my door every day from Amazon orders for my family and gifts for kids. That's my favorite ESOP. Will, what's your favorite ESOP?
Man, I tell you, we shop as a family. We love going into Publix, Publix grocery store chain. And it just never ceases to amaze me. I love to ask the folks we run into there. I mean, you walk through the door, the place is clean, it looks spotless, and I'm talking to the person behind the deli counter getting some ham shaved for the family, and I say, how long have you been working at Publix? It's like, over 25 years. Immediately, my CPA brain kicks in. I start doing the math on what the approximate value might be of their share in the employee stock ownership program. And, quite frankly, you're sitting across from a millionaire. Right. More often than not, when you've got an employee that's been at the organization for more than 20 years. That is unique.
How cool is that?
And the immediate rewards of an ESOP is you increase employee productivity and ultimately company profitability. That is one of the top reasons that you as a business owner consider an ESOP. You as a business owner get to retain control of your company. That's a big deal, maintaining care, custody, and control, even though you might be transitioning the ownership over into those employees that have helped you build it up. You can sell your company stock in a tax-free sale. That's a big deal. If you've got stock that's highly appreciated inside that company because you started at X and now it's worth X exponentially up, then being able to get rid of that stock and retain it your own personal wealth and tax-free nature is a big deal. And then to potentially receive after-tax proceeds greater than what you actually could put into the business is huge. So an ESOP, not there for everybody. We tend to think that you need to have a business worth at least $4 or $5 million with significant cash flow and good revenue. But more importantly, key employees that you want to transition the ownership to and help them continue the company down the road, and you're still involved in the business.
Perfect. Will, from a high level perspective, how does an ESOP work?
Man, great question, Josh. The key to an ESOP, and I'll kind of answer the question this way by saying, if I were to begin that conversation, or if a business owner would approach me and say, hey, I've heard of this thing, this mechanism known as an ESOP, and quite frankly, of all the things we've talked about tax-wise, this is the one that's got the most horsepower to it. Because the question would be, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, how would you like to never pay income tax again on the earnings of that company that you had helped birth? And the question like, well, that sounds great, but that's awesome. How would I do that? Okay, well, how you're going to do that is you're going to incorporate the people that have helped you to build this company over the years. You're going to allow for them to go from, oftentimes in some of the best companies we run into, we'll talk about, hey, our employees have an ownership mentality. Hey, that's great, but let's take it the next step. What if we were able to allow for those employees to actually be owners in the organization, to participate in the company's growth long term for their own value? So that's an element where an ESOP begin to address. It's an element where, from a business owner perspective, oftentimes, have you assembled the right team? Do you have people? And really, the way I frame the question is, if you didn't show up to work this week, would your company continue to move along? Probably not as, let's just say, getting up kind of catered a little bit to the ego here. It's like, it's not going to be the same without you, obviously, but if you've done a good job and have assembled teams and have the right salespeople and have the right operations people down the line, you've created for yourself an entity that continue to move forward, continue to grow. Yeah, you've got your hand on the wheel there. You're paying attention. You're helping to guide it down the path. But that's the thing I think business owners to begin to identify as the right culture, the right fit for an ESOP. If I've got a business owner that says, man, there's no way this company can go forward
I'm the son
me,
and everything revolves around me.
That's the challenge that I would have to say would be you're going to have a hard time pulling the ESOP off because, one, you're not going to have those people with an ownership mentality, or they're going to be so dependent upon you that they can't envision making decisions without you. It's a bit of a handicap. So anyways, that my focus would be for business owners who are at a stage where they do want to execute a succession plan. They do want to take an exit, but they're really reluctant to let that competitor come in because the first thing they realize is, hey, anything that's not nailed down, administrative function or the accounting function oftentimes, anything we could consolidate into the organization, people will lose their jobs. Right. And again, business owners that kind of fit the mold from sort of their own personal character would be a man or woman who says, I really want to try to create a win-win situation. I need to pull and monetize the goodwill that I've accumulated over the years for this organization, and I want my employees to share in that as well over the long haul.
Perfect. Jay, last question for you on ESOP, the type of team that someone would look to assemble.
So you're going to need all available, all hands on deck for an ESOP because it is a decision that you need to make not only with your key employees at the company, and your key decision makers at the company, but also your third-party advisors, your financial advisors, certainly your CPA or your CPA team, any business planning attorneys that you've had along the way. You're going to want them involved. You're going to need to have your CPA or other firm get a solid valuation done. There are ESOP-specific companies that come in and help you with that process, and it really starts with an informal valuation of the company. What do we know it is worth today? Using many different calculation methods, are we in a position to have something large enough in scale where an ESOP makes sense? So you got to keep that in mind. And if you're in an informal valuation need, you can reach out to any of you guys and get that stuff done, typically free of charge. Right. You have got access to insurance companies and other financial related companies that you say, look, just give us 3 years of tax returns and some company data. We'll give you roundabout valuations. Once you have that in mind and the ESOP discussion becomes more prevalent as you move down the path of that discussion, you can then bring in those third-party firms. They are going to charge a fee to kind of determine if an ESOP is going to be a good fit. You've got to prepare your business owner for that. Those fees typically are not very expensive, but they are paying for that ESOP company's time, energy, and effort in order to give you a more formal valuation and get you all the data on the table to make sure that the ESOP is the good fit.
Perfect.
Once you jump through that hoop, then it's go to more formal instructions from that ESOP company and your other advisors in play. Insurance comes into play. Lots of different mechanisms that you need to put in place because life insurance might be needed in an ESOP situation to make sure that the liabilities are covered. Again, don't want to get into the weeds on it, but if you are a business owner listening to this podcast and feel like, golly, I don't want to sell to a third party because I want to keep my employees happy and keep them employed, and I don't have family to succeed the business to, and my business is significantly valued over the years, I may want to look at an ESOP.
Perfect. Will, you got anything to add?
Just in tandem with that, with what Jay had said there, is that the business owner is then presenting an opportunity to these people who have come alongside them along the way. And really, quite frankly, the reason in 1974 when ERISA came into law and this provision got added to it, it's really the full cycle of the American dream. We're allowing for those folks who've been with you through the years, blood, sweat, and tears, participated, and the owner is presenting them with an opportunity to do that. And where we're coming from, how we do that, and the mechanism, the cash flow and increases comes from the lack of income tax paid on a corporate level. So I'm excited to talk to anybody interested in that. Just reach out, get in touch, and we'll continue the conversation.
And just remember, the next time you go into a Publix or you get that UPS package, you're dealing with somebody who actually has ownership in that company. And that's pretty cool, especially if you're getting good service from those groups, and that's about 99.9% of the time.
Amen.
Love it. Love it.
Love my UPS driver. His name's Greg. Shout out to Greg. He's been busy
We'll get him subscribed to the podcast.
Yeah, we'll get him subscribed. He's been busy this holiday season, and he's an ESOP guy.
Well, love it. Guys, great job overall. This was the last podcast in our B.O.S.S series. I think we did a fantastic job. For the listeners, if any of these topics apply to you, we can help. Take advantage of our 50-plus years of collective experience. You can reach out to us, start a conversation about all of this. You can text or call 251-327-2124 to leave a message. Plus, you can visit GulfCoastFA.com. That's GulfCoastFA as in financialadvisor.com. Or visit PCIAwealth.com to find Mr. Will Steih. Also, while you're there, you can hear our podcasts. You can share our other podcasts. We would appreciate that. Lastly, to all you independent and semi-independent advisors and agents out there listening and interested in the value that Jay Stubbs could bring to your practice, you can find him at jstubbs.com. That's JAYSTUBBS.com. So another show in the can, and this wraps up our B.O.S.S series. I'm really thankful, Will Steih, Prime Capital Investment Advisor. You came in and crushed it. Jay, you know, I'm always appreciative of what you bring to the table. I think we hit the nail on the head in every topic. So if y'all are listening to this, jump back on the other episodes. Make sure you listen to that. Also want to thank our producer, Johnny Gwynn of Deep Fried Studios. Want to thank Travis Middleton, who is behind the camera. And last but not least, I want to give a huge shout out to all of y'all that have joined Jay and I on this journey, and to those of you that are joining us now. This has been Every Dollar Counts with Josh and Jay. Do you like the show? Do me a favor, please subscribe on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, you would be doing us a huge favor if you would rate and review the show. It helps other listeners like you find us. Lastly, you like the show music? Go check out slothracerband.com. That's slothracerband.com. And they're going to take us home now. Advisory services offered through Prime Capital Investment Advisors, LLC, PCIA, a federally registered investment advisor. PCIA, doing business as Prime Capital Wealth Management, PCWM, and Qualified Plan Advisors, QPA. Securities offered through Private Client Services, PCS, member FINRA, and SIPC. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is independent of Prime Capital Advisors. Information presented for educational purposes only, is not an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. All investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, be sure to consult a tax professional before implementing any tax or investment strategies.